Welcome everyone. I'm delighted to be able to sort of give you a bit of a bird's eye view about what it's like to do a master's here in the School of Politics and International Relations, or SPIRE, as we like to call ourselves. So there you get a selection of our different programs, and you can see we have a very wide range of programs, which sort of I think symbolizes the depth and range of the school itself in terms of the kind of research that we all do. But you see, we have everything from, just pick out a few: international relations, peace and conflict, political theory, gender politics and international relations, sustainable development, politics and data science, the one that Mohammed studied recently, human rights, Middle East politics. So it's a very wide range, and I think depending on what your interests are, you should be well catered for if you do decide to come here and take one of our master's programs. And just so you understand this distinction between MA and MSc, these are two different streams that we offer on most of the programs, as you will have seen. And so the basic logic here is this: that if you're somebody who wants to get a master's degree, but you're still keeping your options open as to what kind of career you might want to go down, then you probably would want to sign up for one of our MA programs. And that gives you the flexibility, for example, if you don't want to write a dissertation, a mini dissertation at the end, you could potentially do an internship. And I'll say more about internships in a moment. The MA also gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of the kind of modules that you take. You have a slightly wider range of modules that you can choose from. And as we summarize there, the career targets are really rather broad. I'll come back to the kind of careers you might expect from one of our programs later on, so I'll come back to that. The idea of the MSc is that it's much more research oriented. So if you're the sort of person who really thinks that academia is for you, or you want to go into some sort of policy area, then the MSc route is probably the one for you. But you can keep your options open. You could do an MA and still do the PhD. It doesn't foreclose that. It's just that if you take the MSc option, it means that we then give you dedicated research methods training, including statistics. So by the end of the degree, you have a really strong grounding in everything to do with research methods and statistics. You would, if you take the MSc route, of course, have to write a research dissertation. That would be, a requirement that we'd expect. And as I said, this would be really designed for those of you who are thinking about somewhere in the area of research or education as a sort of career route. So what makes a SPIRE graduate program different? So I was trying to reflect on some of the kind of principles that really govern the way our school operates. And so these are the sort of six key principles, I think, that's we like to think distinguishes us from many others. The diversity. So the diversity is reflected in our programs. You've seen the range I've already shown you that. In our staff, I think currently, the last time I checked, we have staff here from 17 or more countries around the world. And indeed also in our student body. We get students from all over Ireland, but students from all across the world who sign up for our master's program. So there's a huge degree of diversity in that sense. But it's also in terms of our research traditions. I mean, I'm a comparative politics person, so that's my area. But in this department, we have people who are strong on theory, on international relations, political economy, certain regions such as the Middle East or Asia, for example, and people who are very strong on data sciences. So diversity is also reflected in the kind of things that we do in terms of our research and our teaching. So that would be our first point. The second sort of follows from that is the high quality. That all our programs put a lot of emphasis on high quality in terms of teaching, the high quality research that we want to get across to you. So you're going to be taught by people who really do the research in the area related to your program, and learn from the kind of research that we do. We also put a lot of emphasis on flexibility. So, we have all those programs, and as I mentioned, the MA, MSc streams within those programs that give a sense of the kind of focus of the programs. But then once you're signed up to a program, there's a fair degree of flexibility in terms of the options that you might want to take, the kind of modules or courses you want to take, particularly if you're thinking about certain dissertation topics. And so the flexibility is really built in to whichever program you decide you're going to take. We're very global. We're very global in terms of our research. Again, we're very global in terms of our makeup, the kind of teaching that we do, the kind of people that have been employed here in the staff, and the kind of students that we attract. So the school is very international. It feels very international. And our job is to give you a really international perspective in the teaching and learning of political science and international relations more generally. So when you're sitting in a class of, it might be in a class with 10 students, it might be in a class with 25 students, you're going to learn just as much from the students that you're working with as you are from the professor at the top of the class, because everyone comes into that class with their own background, with their own perspective. And the way in which we run our teaching as a global department is we want it to be very collegial, very cooperative. We want to put a lot of emphasis on project work, on collaborative conversations, on seminar-based work. We want to create a genuine scholarly community from a global perspective. And that's the sort of welcome we would want to give you if you do decide to sign up for one of our programs. The penultimate point is it's innovation. Innovation is something that's seeked throughout everything, not only in terms of the range of different programs and diversity of programs, but also in the content. We all have different ways of teaching. So, for example, the way I teach my master's course is in a lot of small group teaching with students taking it in turns to facilitate self-learning among a small group of students. So we teach in different ways. We grade do our assessment in different ways. We're constantly trying to update and innovate the way in which we're teaching our students. And then finally, there's just this practical point. I mean, we know that if you sign up for a master's here, it's not just an intellectual exercise. We want to challenge you. We want to make you think. We want to make you think critically. But we also know that you've got your own practical career objectives that are underlying the choice you've made if you sign up for a program here. So we're designing our structures in such a way to try and meet those practical objectives. And whether it's from the school level or across the university, there's all sorts of ways and options that we have to try and make sure that you get all the practical experience and practical training that you want or need to develop your career as you move forward after the degree that you'd have here. Now, let me say a bit about internships. I've mentioned this already. There's a few points I want to stress. I mean, if you're signing up for a program here and you're thinking about an internship, it's important to note that we don't provide you with an internship. What we do is we provide you with the opportunity of obtaining an internship if that's the option that you want to go down. So we help you in identifying and assist you in securing one with working out all the necessary agreements that might be required, whether to do an internship here in Ireland or and indeed an internship overseas, because the internship is done over the summer months. The only qualification we put down in terms of the internship option is that it must be relevant to the degree program that you signed up for. That's a defining characteristic. And then, as you see on the slide there, there's a minimum requirement in terms of the number of hours, 480 hours, but that's a minimum. If you want to continue beyond that, if the internship is really working out for you, there's a possibility to extend beyond the 480 hours. And indeed, over the years, we've had some experience of students whose internships worked out so well that it ended up becoming a career option for them, and they stayed there. Whether they're paid or unpaid internships is something that's determined by the host. And I mentioned earlier on that the internship option is something that's available for all the MA programs. But as you can probably see across the top of the slide, there's a couple of our MSc, the data science and the human rights MSc programs that also offer the internship route. And then finally, before I end and hand over to Mo, um, the career destinations. So this this is just giving you a flavor. I mean, at the bottom there, academia, research, think tank. So I'm a product of this. I did my master's here at UCD in the School of Politics and International Relations in the 1980s. I ended up being an academic, so that is certainly one option. But go back to the top of the list. We have graduates here who've got all sorts of different jobs in various European and international institutions, whether it's in the World Bank or the OSCE, Council of Europe, European Union, and so on. We've got former students who are now in the diplomatic corps, whether here in Ireland or in whatever country they've come from, who work in the public sector, whether it's civil service specifically or more broadly in the public sector. Um, Former students who work in the charity sector or in non-government organizations in the private sector, journalism, quite a few journalists, some very prominent journalists today who have proud master's degrees from this school. So if you come here, you have all sorts of potential career options that flow from this. So I hope I've given you a sort of flavor of what happens if you decide to sign up for one of our programs. And of course, we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. But I'll end now by just handing you over to Mohammed, who, as you've heard from Emma at the start, has already got a degree here from us in politics and data sciences, and is now signed up for our PhD program. So over to you, Mohammed.
Yep, thank you so much, David. Hi, everyone. As David just mentioned, my name is Mohammed Mohib, and yeah, I have completed my master's degree here in politics and data science, and in the School of Politics and International Relations. And I'm now continue as a PhD student in quantitative social science at UCD. My background before coming here was mainly in qualitative research, and I just wanted to take like the next step to learn advanced methods like text analysis, machine learning, programming, and more advanced statistical analysis. The Masters of Politics and Data Science stood out because it's one of the few programs where the political science side and the data science feel equally balanced and well integrated. And there were like several reasons why this program was the right fit for me. First of all, the design and the content of the program in itself. One of the things is that I really appreciate is that you don't need to have a data science background in order to join the program. The program takes you from the basics and builds your skills step by step. Me personally, coming from a qualitative background, I never imagined myself that I have that or I feel confident right now in terms of writing coding in different programs or understanding complex statistical models. But the structure of the program really makes that possible. And the most important thing, as David just mentioned, in our master's program, I mean, like you have the opportunity to choose between the internship track or master thesis track. I found this flexibility is really good because it gives us kind of a space to think about our career goals and choose the track that best fit our plans. Second reason, I mean, it was because of the coordination and administration here in a School of Politics and International Relations. That was a very important for me when I decided to do like my master's degree here. Even before I applied, I reached out with question about the program structure and the admission process and so on, and I got so quite clear and very helpful response. That immediate sense of support makes a big difference for me. Third, because of like the School of Politics and International Relations in itself. So as David just mentioned, the school in itself, it's a very diverse international school. And that was something that I really appreciated. So the academic staff come from a very wide range background, Germany, Turkey, Switzerland, South Korea, and many more. The diversity or this diversity translate into very rich learning environment with many perspective, research tradition, and teaching styles. And it creates a kind of space where you are learning not only from the material, but even from, I mean, like the people around you. So to be honest, in total, I mean, like my experience studying in Inspire has been extremely positive. So the courses are engaging and very relevant, especially if you are interested in applying data methods to political question. I really enjoyed courses like statistics, data wrangling and visualization, programming for social statistics, quantitative text analysis, and many. The atmosphere in Inspire is also something special. So the lecturer or our teacher, they were like approachable, supportive, and interested in our ideas. Beside that, I mean, Inspire offers Spire seminar and something called Connected Politics Lab, where we got the chance in order like to attend presentations from guest speakers and engage with many research projects. Number four, the student group is very international and diverse, which enriches our like discussion inside, like classes or group projects. And finally, the administrative team is was always like helpful, which makes our academic life much easier, to be honest. In terms of career plans, so completing this program opened so many doors. So me personally, I got like two PhD offers, one from here and one from Reading University in the UK. In terms of my colleagues, like many of my classmates, they have taken different passes. Some of them they got like jobs in data science sector, some in public policy, NGOs, or even like further study in order like to get PhD. So in terms or in total, the program politics and data science equips us, with skills that are really valuable in a wide range of fields. Yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to see many of you in UCD in the future.
One specific question we had was in terms of the MA Peace and Conflict, in terms of the opportunities for internships.
My understanding is that because we're living in the capital city, we work in the capital city, there are a lot of NGOs based in Dublin, which would be an obvious target for internships in the area of Middle Eastern politics. And of course, as I mentioned, there's no particular requirement that your internship needs to be done in Ireland. So, for example, if you happen to come from the region and you're spending your summer months back in the region, then there could be the possibility of exploring internships there.
So, David, how does research in the school influence the teaching on the master's programs? So the school is very research active, recipients of European Research Council grants, Irish or Research Ireland grants. So how does that influence the teaching that goes on in the school?
It's a great question, and it's so important, particularly when we're talking about teaching at this level. That is when you really get to see the research that the academic is doing. So I think of my colleague Joseph Lacey, who is the has an ERC, a European Research Council grant on the area of election campaigns and norms in election campaigns. So he's actually then developed a master's course focused specifically on that. I work on deliberative mini publics on citizens' assemblies. So as I was mentioning in my remarks, I try to use deliberative methods in the way in which I do my teaching. I could give almost any example, almost any colleague I choose, you will find in virtually all cases that it very much informs the kind of research they do, the kind of teaching they're doing, because we're teaching to a very high level of student. Master students are the students that we all really love to teach. If you forgive me, any undergraduates in the room, because that's when we get to show off the kind of research, the cutting edge research that we're doing it and bringing it into the teaching and learning experience.
Fantastic. And then just in terms of the opportunities for taught master students to attend seminars, so you might have both internal guest speakers, but also as speakers from external universities or organizations. So what are the opportunities for graduate students?
I think the problem is there's so many opportunities because we have so many different research interests. There's a seminar going on in some area or another every week, pretty much. So we have our weekly research seminar, which is a school-wide one, and there's a possibility for our master's students to be able to attend those at least virtually. But then we have research centres. I mentioned Joseph Lacey already. He has a new research centre on democracy, which has pretty regular seminars going on, and our master's students are welcome to attend those. There's ones on political theory, there's ones on peace and conflict, regular seminars in those areas. And of course, as Mohammed is talking about in the area of data science, really hope to see some of you here next year. If you come, as I said, you're going to come to a very collegial body of academics who come from a very diverse set of research and educational and country backgrounds. And you will get a lot of stimulation from spending your time here on a master's program. So I really hope to see some of you next year. But thank you for attending.